In anticipation of National Veterans Small Business Week, Lisa suggested that we do something special. Together, we created the Veterans Helping Veterans Business Anthology Group. It's been a great success. We networked, collaborated, conducted interviews, and wrote a book. During this journey, Lisa and I had the pleasure of meeting numerous entrepreneurs and business leaders with backgrounds in the military veteran and military spouse community. We carefully selected 20 contributors at various stages of their business endeavors, from ideation to well-established enterprises. We engaged in insightful conversations, the highlights of which are shared in our new book, We Are Stronger Together, Strength and Diversity. In addition to these interviews and our contributors' lessons learned, inside the book, Lisa and I also provided practical information and tons of resources to help others in their entrepreneurial pursuits. Remember to grab your copy of the book on Amazon to meet all the contributors, authors Lisa DeShorm and myself. Are you ready to get a glimpse of what it takes to be a veteran business owner? Take a listen. Welcome to Talk to Me. I'm your host, Brenda, the Soulutionist. I see things other people often miss. And today I get to see Kenji Ono Mundy from, I want to get this right, TaraKenji Photography. She is an Air Force spouse that is doing her thing, helping people see their vision for their life through her photos. And I'm excited to have you with me here today, Kenji. She is one of the members of the Veterans Helping Veterans Business Anthology. And today we're going to talk about what it's like to be a military spouse and how she does what she do. Welcome to the show, Kenji. How are you today?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. You know, oftentimes when we think about veterans and the military in general, people often forget about the spouse and the sacrifices that you have to make to maintain a job, let alone run your own business. Can you tell us what got you started at TaraKenji Photography and how being a military spouse affected that?
What made me decide to do it was I had worked for a company for 6 years, a very large photography company that does food pictures. And they were not paying very well, but it was a convenient job being a military spouse. I can go, I can do this, I can do whatever my spouse needs me to do because you get to make your own schedule with them. Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, that works for me. And then on my 50th birthday, my son was like, why are you still working for someone else? I have a gift for you today. And his gift was he built my own website for me. He was like, you're always doing pictures for family. It's time for you to start your own. So my family had talked about this behind the scenes because it's something I always wanted. But I've always been, I got to have a paycheck. I need to know that I'm making this amount of money and blah, blah, blah. And my family had a conversation behind the scenes and they was like, she doesn't want to work for someone else anymore. So when they offered me the opportunity and my spouse was like, well, if it was me and I had the opportunity, I would take it. So I took it. And weirdly enough, one of the first organizations that I got to professionally do pictures with under my company's name was for veterans. And so my shirt says conversation. What I was doing before I became my actual own entity, it's called Conversation Photography. Okay. And it was only veterans I did it with. My sister-in-law was having a hard time letting go of what she went through in the military. So I took her to Southwest Washington, D.C., where there is a military base, which was her final military base. And we had a conversation on that base and I took pictures while she did it. And I think that's the first time I realized that I love photography outside of my job. Okay. And then she told someone else and they was like, oh, can I talk about my military career with you? And I was like, sure. And they was like, well, how much is the session? And I was like, oh, no, there's no fee. You know, we'll just get together and talk. It's going to help you process. And I was fine with that because it was interesting to have these conversations and to be helping. Yeah. And that's when my family was like, she knows she want to do this full time.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, gotta have a job. On my 50th birthday, I stopped having a job and became my own entity. And I started TaraKenji Photography. From the push of my son and my spouse and my daughter, it started. And the weird thing about it is you're right, everyone does forget the spouse. And my spouse made it perfectly clear. I am family retired. It is your go.
Okay.
I'm going to be in the background doing whatever you need me to do to make this work. It's my turn for the background. And I don't think I've ever felt like I was background, but I guess I really was background because no one really knew, like, how does the house get packed up? They're off doing, my spouse is an accountant. It's not accountant, it's called something else. But for the month of September, they are not allowed to go anywhere, do anything. They barely make it home. A lot of nights, they spend the nights in the office. It has something to do with year end. I would bring lunch, breakfast, dinner to the office, and still take care of home and the kids and still work. And I don't know, I never thought of that as being in the background. I thought of it just getting it done. Until my spouse was like, now it's my turn to bring lunch. It is my turn to bring dinner. And I'm glad I took that jump.
I'm glad you did too, because one of the biggest things that I see with military spouses is sometimes they don't see their own greatness because they're so busy taking care of home and family while the military member is out on deployment or just doing their daily job, even when they're stationed on a base and don't have to go anywhere. There's a lot of moving parts that if it were not for the military spouses, that we could not do what we do.
Yes.
When you first, as you and your spouse were going through before you started your business, was there a time that as you were moving about that with your photography that you thought, I could do this as a business, but you held back because of the commitment that he had?
So, yes. First and foremost, I apologize. My spouse is a female.
Okay.
Her name
There's
is
something
Tara.
to apologize for that.
So, oh no, I meant the fact that you said he, and I did.
I got you. You didn't tell me in the beginning. Okay.
Right. She is the Tara of TaraKenji Photography. So, and to answer your question, I always felt that I needed a stable job.
Okay.
So that my hours were set so that I could always be wherever she needed me to be when she needed me to be. Okay. That what she was doing was what we had to focus on and what was important, because her job was saving the world, in my opinion. You know, she's making sure that we're good and we're safe. I need to do this. So when my granddaughter is 5 or 6, and she's over in Iraq, I still take pictures in my free time, but now I'm doing it because it's relaxing me. So this is in 2009, 2008, 2009. Nope, back it up. It's 2007. 2007, she leaves and goes over there.
Okay.
And again, I pick back up my camera because it brings me peace. She had just bought me this beautiful red camera before she left, and I enjoy it. I have fun with it. But as soon as she comes back home, I put the camera back down. Because now I need to go back to what do you need, what's going on. And her last stint, she got real ill. So now I become a caretaker. So I definitely put everything on the back burner. Nothing else matters at this point. I don't pick back up my camera again until 2014.
Wow. So when you pick your camera back up, are you going back into the employee phase at that time?
I go to work for a large photography company. This is when I start for them.
So while you're at this company, are you starting to have a mindset shift that would get you heading toward your entrepreneurial journey, or you hadn't made that shift yet?
My story to myself was I was working here to get the basics, the foundation, the understanding. Because even though I've done photography since I was a kid, I had never been formally trained.
Okay.
So that's what I told myself. But the years went on, and my family was like, she's afraid. She's this, she's that. And I was. I couldn't imagine being my own boss. That's the best way I can say it. I felt that I needed a guarantee that I had to ensure that I had a 9 to 5 that was going to be guaranteed income, whether it made me happy or not.
I get that. So now that you're entrenched in your entrepreneurial journey, how would you say the challenges that you faced with your spouse while y'all were in the military have helped you build TaraKenji Photography?
First and foremost, hurry up and wait.
I know that term.
I did not understand that. So I started the business and I expected it to be like this.
Absolutely. Most of us do.
And I had to learn, hurry up and wait. And the patience of being a military spouse is important because it teaches you that everything doesn't happen when you want it. You may want to move tomorrow, but those movers aren't coming until 30 days later, and you're going to wait for them or you're going to pay for it yourself, and you may not get your money back. So the patience that it taught me. But the other most important part it taught me was to pivot on a drop of a dime.
You know, that overcoming, adapting, and ability to pivot is something that military people learn right off. How did you get that concept as a spouse?
One, I was a spouse doing don't ask, don't tell.
Okay.
So I always had to be ready to make changes that I had to do in a far background. I had to be able to move 2 children and a grandchild without any assistance and still get all of her stuff done for her when she needed it done, with us being completely in the background. And it taught me to always just get your focal point, and then you figure out how you're going to get to those directions. It's not always going to be a straight shot. And I had to learn that. I had to learn that you can't say, well, I want to go from A to Z, and I want to do it in a straight line. Being a military spouse doing don't ask, don't tell, nothing was a straight line for me.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely nothing was a straight line for me. So I learned to be flexible. I learned to be able to maneuver through almost impossible situations in some time. And then at the last minute, it became, we didn't have to be a secret anymore. And again, I had to readjust my life all over again.
Now, when that happened, did that make you want to do your business more, or you still hadn't made that shift yet because you saw that as a far off thing?
That is at the same time that I decided I was going to go work for a company to get the basics and do my own company. Yes.
Okay. So now you're in a place where you no longer have to hide your marriage and who you are, and you're working for a company and you're starting your business. What were some of your biggest hurdles?
One was collecting gear. Photography is expensive. It is a very expensive startup company. And even though I had cameras, I needed now to switch over to professional level cameras. So I'm a Nikon shooter, which is unfortunately one of the most expensive cameras on the market, but it's what I shoot, so I don't know any better. So I had to find ways to communicate with other organizations to help me grow, to help me become who I am now. One of the things I found is that within the military field, the spouses have so many organizations.
Yes, there are lots of organizations
to support you and help you grow. Another military spouse shared information with me. And that is when I was physically able to say, okay, I can start. I can start. This is going to be hard, but I can do this.
How did you go about getting funding for your organization?
So I didn't know about funding.
Okay.
So I did it all on my own. I was determined.
Congratulations, you bootstrapped it.
So I knew about Uber.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally would Uber 3 days a week, all day, so that I could purchase this new camera I needed.
Now, while you were Ubering, did you get any great information from any of your passengers or anything? Just an experience that helped you in your business.
I only did food. I wasn't brave to put people in the same car with me.
Okay.
I just did food. But what I did get from that was I realized I was truly determined. Yeah. Because I was like, okay, if you're waking up this early in the morning to go deliver food so that you can be able to afford, because I didn't want to pull from our household funds. That was one thing I was very direct with. For me to do this, I don't want to mess with household. Even though my spouse felt differently. My spouse was like, look, we have enough money to just freaking buy the camera. Let's buy the camera. And
so you had the support at home, even though you weren't willing to take it at the time. You simply wanted to do it on your own, which a lot of veterans do. How did you make a shift from that to go, okay, family wants to support me and let me allow myself to be helped?
That would be that's going to go right back to my 50th birthday. On my 50th birthday, my family was like, okay, that's it. We're done. Okay. You're making excuses. You're talking about you're going to do Uber to get a camera. You're talking about you're going to do this first. Oh, you got it. They gave me all of my excuses. So for my 50th birthday, there was this wonderful conversation about me. And it was to let me know that I know I didn't do this by myself.
You have a village, and the woman that now has conversations was having a conversation about you are not alone. Okay, so you have these conversational photographers. Do you also do videos, or is that part of the process?
So that is totally a separate thing. But yes, I video it for them, and all that's theirs. That's nothing that I ever keep, and I never post to my business page. Even now that TaraKenji Photography is now here. I am actually doing business. Whenever a veteran reaches out to me for conversation photography, that is never posted to my page. It is never, because that is a private conversation. Okay,
that's for their healing.
That is for their healing. Once I give them their pictures and I give them their video, it's actually deleted from my system.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. There's a safety component to what you do. Well, there's so much that we could talk about, but I only have 30 minutes. So we're going to do the hot seat questions.
Yes.
Here's what it is. What one of the greatest motivators that you felt you had to start your photography business?
They're called the Mahonies and the G's. My motivation was I decided I wanted my grandchildren not to live afraid. I wanted them to realize if they wanted to do it, do it. And the best way to show them was to let them see it.
Okay. What has been the highlight of your week so far?
The highlight of my week was I did my first boudoir session.
Ooh, I love those. That is so cool.
That was not highlight.
That's a way cool one. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's when ladies get to show their sexy and sensual side in photography, and it's often done for a significant other or a special partner, or just for a woman that wants to feel sexy, fierce, and fabulous. So that's exciting that you did.
It was a "This Is Me at 60" boudoir session.
There you go. We gotta talk about that when we get off this. Okay, what are people usually surprised to find out about you?
What is the most surprising thing about me is when people find out that I am literally terrified of any and every bug that I will scream because I come off very strong-willed and there's nothing I can't do. Put a bug in front of me and I scream like an infant that you took a bottle from.
Look, I'll join you in that, but only spiders. Everything else I can handle. I can handle snakes, but a spider will make me tear a hole in a wall.
I can't do a fly.
I can't do it. Flies don't
do
bother me. No,
I can't do flies, ants. If it's a bug,
yeah.
I am screaming.
A spider, I will embarrass my ancestors. So I feel you. I feel you. Okay. What is something that life is teaching you right now?
Be present.
That's a good one. How about
be present?
Okay, I'll let you finish that thought. Be present. I like be present. What is something you do differently than most people?
Most people wake up and their day is just a day. When I wake up, the very first thing I do before my eyes open or anything else, I say this weird prayer. Well, I'm not going to say it's a weird prayer. It's my prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care where I am, if I'm at home, if I stay at a hotel, if I'm at my family's house. If you interrupt me, I tend to do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I need to finish it before I open my eyes.
I got you.
And then I can start my day.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
So that is a little different, but it gives me peace.
It's part of who you are. I understand that clearly because
Yes.
I'm a prayer as well. And you got to finish those thoughts because conversations with God are very important.
And I can't start my day without it.
That's a good way to start a day. Kenji, I have enjoyed our conversation and I'm hoping one day to have one of those veteran conversations with you for my own self. But in the meantime, Kenji, tell me, how is what you're doing right now helping you live your best life now?
Owning your own business, you get to be present with your family because you're not checking anybody else's clock. Every Friday, I pick my grandchildren up from school. I am never late. I schedule it in. So it has changed the fact that as a mother, I was not very present because I worked on someone else's schedule. Mm-hmm. Now I'm present. I am very present for my grandchildren. So
I love that. And, hearing that you say that you set your own schedule, I always tell entrepreneurs, do business your way, yes. Which is why I decided to take every other month off. And when I said I was going to do that, many people said I was crazy. But the reality is the beauty of being a business owner is you get to decide when and where you go and how you do it. And I am passionate about getting entrepreneurs to understand that they can do business their way, yes. As long as they decide what their way is. Kenji, do you have any advice for any military spouses that are thinking about starting a business?
Don't play yourself a second field because you're not. You have the right to happiness just as much as your spouse do. And even though people think we're only supposed to be in the background, we are human too. And we are a huge part of what's making that wheel go around. And the way we run households, CEOs couldn't do what we do. Mm-hmm. So you can do it because you're a military spouse and you're already running your own business, whether we want to know it or not. Because we do a lot. We do a lot.
Yes, you do.
So yes, you're already running your own business. Believe in yourself and do it. Believe in yourself as much as you believe in your spouse and do it. That would be my word to any other veteran spouse out there that's double thinking themselves.
Well, thank you for joining me today on Talk to Me, Kenji. I'm looking forward to you being on the panels and all the other things that we do as it relates to the veterans, helping veterans venture. For those of you watching, as I say always, the choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. So choose wisely.